Welcome to What She's Worth, the podcast dedicated to empowering women, amplifying bold voices, and challenging the status quo. This show offers candid conversations about leadership, career growth, and workplace equity. Featuring inspiring guests from industry leaders to rising changemakers, we celebrate ambition, advocate for equality, and provide actionable tools to help women thrive. Join us as we dismantle barriers, build confidence, and own our worth. Because knowing your worth is just the beginning. Owning it changes everything. Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of What She's Worth, where we amplify the voices of women in the workplace and champion equity, ambition, and empowerment. I'm Ashleigh Droz, your host and founder of What She's Worth, and I'm so excited to bring these conversations to life through this show. So first, who am I? I'm a professional career counselor, educator, author, that one's new, and speaker. I found this unique career path early, having struggled to fit into the dry, prescriptive career story we are all fed. I made the risky decision at 18 years old to just follow my passions instead. Clear roadmap and expectations be damned. After realizing that what was really holding me back was myth after myth about how our careers are supposed to go, I threw myself into finding real answers about authenticity, purpose, and what truly matters, while still mastering the necessary rules for career success. Now, with well over a decade of career counseling experience, the credentials to back it up, and thousands of student and client success stories later, I basically eat, sleep, and breathe career development and success strategies all day, every day. Seriously, you can ask my friends. So now I'm here recording the first episode of a longtime dream, telling real stories on a much larger scale, tackling challenges women face in the workplace, and equipping you with actionable advice and inspiration. We will be having the inspiring conversations and the tough ones around professional confidence, leadership, career growth, breaking stereotypes, and so much more so that we can change the game together. So whether you're shattering the ceiling in corporate America, running your own business, or simply exploring your next career move, this is your space. This is our space. So now let's get into how we got here and why I started What She's Worth. You can probably tell by now that I have never felt more at home than when I am talking to someone about their big dreams and collaborating on how to get there. But after all these years, one thing has been the thorn in my side that never seems to go away. The foolproof formulas we are taught to use to get ahead, the rules we are supposed to follow, the prescriptive action plans, well, they weren't always working like they should. And who weren't they working for? Well, women. In job interviews, in salary negotiations, in asking for promotions, in climbing the metaphorical ladders. We could follow all the rules and still run into roadblocks. I found I was teaching women the strategies that are supposed to work and then coaching them through unexpected hurdles when they didn't. And those hurdles weren't just personal, lowercase, no-name problems. They were officially named, capital letter, proper noun, systemic issues. From the gender pay gap to the glass ceiling, from the double standards to invisible labor, from the glass cliff to the dream gap, the gaps and the ceilings and the ceilings and the gaps and the you name it's felt endless. There was my client who was placated with promises of partnership for years by an all-male leadership of her engineering firm who eventually had to just jump ship and ended up with a juicy signing bonus and an enormous raise at a different firm. There was the coworker who was told she was the problem and sincerely asked how to negotiate her salary without coming off as too ambitious. Yes, they said that. There was the story I overheard of a woman on a hiring panel who pulled the plug on the Zoom meeting when her female interviewee undercut her own salary request just so she could call her and coach her to up her ask without the rest of the panel knowing. Of course, there are all the women who finally make it to the small percentage of female higher ups at the top to just be called bossy or aggressive or so much worse, instead of being called a leader and assertive and accomplished and deserving like most men would be. And there was the woman who spent nearly 2 years of her professional life in a blatantly unfair compensation battle, fighting for pay equity because she hadn't had the means to walk away. Oh wait, that last one was me. These are just some of the stories, which we don't often hear because they are usually reserved for the safety of a circle of trust behind closed doors. Well, not anymore, because as our slogan says, we are putting our hard-earned money where our mouth is and amplifying the voices of women in the workplace. Literally, with a podcast, a YouTube channel, all the socials, really great merch, future courses, and more. And I am so happy that you are here. With that in mind, the mission of What She's Worth comes down to this: to celebrate and elevate the incredible career journeys of women everywhere. This looks like community, by uplifting and supporting the women we already admire and those we have yet to meet. It looks like empowerment and education through a commitment to providing valuable resources that empower women to take charge of their careers. Along with our guests, our aim is to equip you with the knowledge and skills you need to succeed, because your growth is our priority and we are here to support you every step of the way. This looks like advocacy, because at the heart of our initiative is the commitment to fostering equity in the workplace. Navigating a career can come with its own set of challenges, and we are here to advocate for change. So why does this matter? Amplifying women's voices matters for reasons that we could take hours to unpack, and don't worry, we will. But in the meantime, here is one heavy-hitting example: the broken rung. I want to know if you're familiar with this one. So ask yourself, have you heard of it? In summarizing McKinsey & Company's 2024 Women in the Workplace report, in partnership with leanin.org, women's experiences in the corporate workplace have made notable progress. However, just last year, the report found that the gains are meaningful, but still modest, as, quote, women remain underrepresented at every stage of the corporate pipeline, end quote. With women representing 48% of the entry-level workplace, that's 19% women of color and 28% white women, we see that percentage fall steeply with each level of leadership until we get to only 29% of C-suite level positions being held by women. That's 7% women of color and 22% white women. From 48% at the bottom to just 29% at the top. Just to add on a side note to this, the World Economic Forum weighed in on this last year as well, and their reports showed that only 25% of C-suite positions are held by women. Yes, that's even less than McKinsey's 29%. So maybe you're aware of the statistic, or at least the general idea, but here's where the broken rung comes in. To quote the McKinsey report, "What's more, women continue to face barriers at the beginning of the pipeline. They remain less likely than men to be hired into entry-level roles, which leaves them underrepresented from the start. Then, women are far less likely than men to attain their first promotion to a manager role, a situation that is not improving. In 2018, for every 100 men who received their first promotion to manager, 79 women were promoted. This year, just 81 women were. That, my friends, is the broken rung. Some sources name this step up to manager as the biggest obstacle on the path to leadership that women today face. This data culminates in a shocking projection, and once again, I quote McKinsey. At the current pace of progress, it would take 22 years for white women to reach parity, and it would take more than twice as long for women of color. Put another way, it would take 48 years for the representation of white women and women of color in senior leadership to reflect their share of the U.S. population. End quote. I will link the reports I mentioned in the show notes so you can take your own deeper dive. But it's also important to include that as I was doing my research, I found that 3 female McKinsey partners wrote a book on this topic, aptly called The Broken Rung: When the Career Ladder Breaks for Women and How They Can Succeed in Spite of It. It comes out this year, actually on my birthday, March 11th, I know, and you know we will be reading it. I hope you read it with us so that we can unpack. Now, I've mostly been talking about one report, done with 281 companies in a certain arena, corporate, that surveyed 15,000 employers and 280 HR professionals. It's a small yet significant snapshot of the bigger picture. But here's the real kicker. This report shows us important information, but also it ended with company calls to action and review of policies and practices in these organizations. They found that as of last year, company commitment to both diversity and programs geared toward women are both declining. The categories of these programs: 1. Priorities of the organization, including gender and racial diversity. 2. Manager training and instruction. 3. Flexible work options. 4. Hiring and promotion fairness. And 5. Career advancement programs tailored to women. And that was last year. We all know what has been happening in the US this year so far. So how do we get the bigger picture and start making real change? Well, hear me out. Women talk and the world listens. So we're going to talk. If you stick with me, you will hear the stories of women in different fields with a range of experiences from all different backgrounds facing these and other challenges head on and overcoming them. What I hope is that we learn from each other, inspire each other, and empower each other to succeed, because we don't ascend in solitude and we are bringing you with us. So let me end on how you can get involved. First, of course, like and subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel to never miss an episode. You can find us at What She's Worth on socials, especially Instagram, and we would love to connect. We definitely want this to be a two-way conversation. So please share your stories, questions, and challenges with us, and they might be featured in a future episode. Lastly, you can visit our shop at whatshe'sworth.com and tag us in your posts rocking our merch for a chance to win What She's Worth gifts. I'll include the links in the show notes to everything we talked about, as well as how you can find us. So until next time, keep breaking barriers, and we will meet you at the top.